Welcome to another fun-filled Monday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in living color right here on Sports Soul Chicago, along with Miss Lakeem McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can find my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, X, IG.
Make sure you download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including that iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always find us on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. LinkedIn will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and don't do something silly, dumb, or stupid, I've given Lakina full power to give you fools to build and be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live in living color on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, just tap on the sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, you have some handheld devices laying around. iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook like I'm using right now, or your personal PC like Lakina's using right now. Just hit up the Google Play Store, download the Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we will provide all you can handle here on Second City Sports. I see our buddy Vernon already commented on the Bears Saints game. We'll talk about that. Plus the rest of the NFL Week 9 slate. Then, of course, our NFL Power Hour. Also, too, we're going to, do some NBA, in-season tournament, a rough start for the Bulls, unfortunately. But, then we'll also talk about baseball. Some very interesting things happening in the side with the free agency and whatnot. And also, Gold Gloves were announced as well. College football Week 10 and a whole lot more. But first...
Play action again. Bagent on the move. He's got DJ Moore for a first down. Moore stays inbounds inside the 20 and now out of bounds at the 18. Larry Borum has come in at left tackle for Braxton Jones. As we told you, Matt Eberflus said they might rotate a bit today as Foreman juggles it and then gets to the 14-yard line as we check in with AJ. Bagent with time, now steps up, looking to run again, inside the 20, Bagent still going at the 15, lunges up ahead, great effort by Tyson Bagent, let's see where they spot it. So first and goal for Chicago. Bagent pulls it back, now looking end zone for Kmet, number 2 for the Bears tight end, his second touchdown of the day.
Right here.
Hill keeps it himself and stuffed by TJ Edwards.
That, I think, as the game goes on.
Braxton Jones back in at left tackle. Bagent fakes the toss, keeps it himself again. He's got the first down. Bagent with pressure coming, gets rid of it to Mooney, who has the first down. Bagent gets it out quickly. There is Mooney again, and Mooney picks up a first down. Darnell Mooney had one catch on the road this season.
Less than 24 hours for the deadline.
Third down and 8. Carr hit as he throws and incomplete. Third Bears penalty on this drive. Foreman sneaks through. Deontay Foreman to the 15. How did he find a hole?
And those highlights were courtesy of CBS. That was Andrew Catalon, Matt Ryan, T. Barber, Andy Ross on the sideline with a call of that game as the Bears lose to the Saints 24-17. The final there down in New Orleans. Tyson Bagent, okay, 3 interceptions. 5 turnovers total for the Bears. He did throw 2 touchdowns both from Komet, as you guys saw right there. Derek Carr on the flip side for the Saints, 211 yards and 2 TDs. Taysom Hill was actually really the star of the game. He had a touchdown pass and rush for 62 yards and got was able to move the Saints down the field when they needed to. Got the big those big yards when they needed. So Sid, I mean, I kept an eye on this game a little bit. I was turning back and forth from this game to a few other games. We'll talk more about those games after the break. But this will be 32 years since the Bears last went down in New Orleans. But I digress. But it was like, okay. It just kind of reminds me of the Chargers game where this score should have been a lot. They should have blown the Bears out. I mean, everything else that kind of went on there. I mean, Bagent actually kind of showed exactly who he is, unfortunately. So, for me, Dante Foreman had 83 rushing yards. Okay, Mooney had 82 receiving yards as well. Of course, we can talk about Komet with the 2 TDs. DJ Moore only got 3 catches. That's not good. So for me, I was like, Bears fall 2-7. Yippee. Okay, go ahead.
For many of you that expected, bad echo there. But for those of you that expected Tyson Bagent to behave like Kurt Warren, to come in and save the day and throw for 3 touchdown passes and no interceptions and lead the Bears to this greatest turnaround in NFL history, that wasn't going to happen. Now, he did play well yesterday, but you saw some mistakes. You still saw some flaws in his game with those 3 interceptions. He did get better, but he still needs to progress and read defenses in a quick hurry, and that's going to take time. And I know some fans don't want to hear that, but it's going to take time. On the flip side, for the defense, Lakina, I wish it was a couple of times in that game that defense, especially on third down, would have gotten off the field, because the Saints were 7-14 on third down, and that just cannot happen. I know the Bears defense did stop them a couple of times on fourth down, which I give them thumbs up for, but when it was really time for them to step up, it did happen. Now back to the offense. DJ Moore did have that catch and fumble toward the end of the game, which really hurt the Bears' chances, because I really thought that the Bears could have at least forced a tie to send it to overtime, but obviously that wasn't the case. But as I said before in the beginning of the season, Lakina, said it last year, we do have a tight end in Chicago. His name is Cole Kmet. He's earned that extension money that he signed this offseason. And Deontay Foreman has really done the job for the Bears ever since Khalil Herbert's injury a couple weeks ago. So those are things I'm encouraged by. But the things I'm discouraged by, of course, the turnovers by Tyson Bagent, and the defense allowing New Orleans to convert 7 out of their 14 tries on third down. Now, the Bears were 6-12 themselves on third down, but just looking at this game, Lakina, statistically, these 2 teams were evenly matched. It all came down to the turnovers. And Lakina, unless you know something that I don't, any team, I'm talking about any football team, whether it's high school, college, or pro, what are those winning percentages of those teams that have 5 turnovers or more and they win on a consistent basis? I'll wait.
No, yeah, that wasn't. I mean, look, I mean, look, there might be one or 2 instances. I mean, I'm sure it does happen, but I mean, look, okay, Bagent was, okay. Some of those throws that he threw were, I think Komet had to try to get a couple. I know Mooney had to get a couple of catches as well. I mean, look, you want your wide receiver to try to catch the ball, but I hate to say this, but I know no one wants to hear it, but some of those throws seem like very color-esque throws, and we all know how that turned out. That didn't turn out very well here in Chicago. So for me, I think, look, Bagent is exactly who he is. So I'm sorry, I'm not sold on him. I know Boomer Esiason said during halftime that, he made it harder and harder for the Bears to go back to Justin Fields. Really? And we talked about this last week that people were saying, well, Fields could learn a little something, a thing or two from Bagent. Seriously? Okay, well, hell, Fields could have done that. And I seriously thought that folks would give him the same grace that I'm seeing some people give Bagent. I'm just saying. So, look, Komet did his thing. Look, he's earned that big money. Sweat, I mean, he made a couple of stuff, but he wasn't a big factor of getting that big contract extension. So for me, I'm just like, okay, I don't know. I mean, look, they did something up those days for a couple of times, and that score should have been a lot worse than it was. So give them kudos to that. But I think the Saints defense, they did get their licks in. I mean, Demario Davis had a sack. Cameron Jordan, I think, was 104 sack. Well, actually, he had 2 sacks. If you count the one that he did against Matt Ryan before the game. It's hilarious. Check it out on the CBS NFL's Twitter X page, because that was hilarious. And nice looking out, Tiki. Nice looking out, for his blind side. Yeah, good job there. But I mean, look, the Bears, okay. You didn't look terrible, but you didn't look great either. So for me, you're kind of right back to where you started. And they have a short week too. They play Carolina on Thursday. Yay! So. But we'll talk about Carolina after the break. But yeah, I mean, this game kind of just shows that the Bears are, God rest his soul, Denny Green, but they are who you thought they were.
You listen to Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago, the Monday edition. Sid Lakina here with you. We're live in the living color. And speaking of that Carolina game on Thursday, I want to ask Bears fans this on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. If Justin Fields' thumb is healthy enough to give it a go on Thursday, would you put him in? Me personally, I say no, because you have 10 days off after Thursday's game, and he can start the next game thereafter. I'm not going to put him in on short notice for Thursday, because you don't know how that thumb is, and I know that he can be injured again if he doesn't play on Thursday. You bring him back for the following week. I believe they played the Detroit Lions, if I'm not mistaken, for their next game.
Yes, sir. Yeah, they do.
I would give Justin Fields extra time to heal up that thumb. It would have been exactly a month since he injured it. Since he injured it against the Raiders. So, me personally, I would not put him in for Thursday's game. This is Tyson Bajan's extra work to get to boost up his resume, to get put on tape for him to learn some more. So, me personally, I would not put Justin Fields in on Thursday.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean, and who knows, that thumb might still be an issue even all season long. I mean, from the way it sounds, yeah, it's not broken, but it doesn't look very good either. So for me, I think, look, take as much time as he needs. You get 10 days off after that Carolina game. You're going to be playing Detroit, so that might be better that they don't put him out there if he's healthy enough. So, and I don't think the Bears should not have any trouble with Carolina, but then again, you never know. So, but well, come on, Sid, right? I mean, yeah, it's a little bit nutty, but I kind of feel like at this point, I mean, look, the Bears are kind of like the no division, so you're talking about draft picks at this point, or draft positioning, I should say. So this is going to be kind of one of those things where, look, don't let Fields play. Look, let Bajan get some confidence against a not very good Panthers defense, and you can ride it out for the next 10 days.
Yeah, one more stat about the Bears before we take the break. 0 sacks again for the Bears front line, and not 1 but 2 quarterback hits total on Derek Carr yesterday. I know Montez Sweat was down there making his Bears debut. I do not blame him for it, because he just got to the team, so I'm not going to put any blame on him. But the rest of that defense, the players that have been on that roster since day one, it was their fault that, as I mentioned, they couldn't get off the field on third down. You couldn't sack Derek Carr on our one time. That's very inexcusable.
Yeah, so, as our buddy Dave, Big Dave Watson for CHGO would say, Mr. Carr's jersey was a little too clean for his liking. I'm sure he feels that way. So we're going to take a really quick break. Of course, a big showdown in Germany as the Chiefs just manhandle the Dolphins. Plus, is it a time to have that talk about the Bills? And plus, we got studs and duds and some baseball, too. Some breaking news here. We'll talk about that later on in the next hour. So a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, Sydney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. More NFL talk coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakita McKee and Cindy Brown with you. You can follow Lakita McKee on the Twitter, X at Kato's Gonna be on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. We have less than 85 minutes left or so in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us, you go look for us on Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions, comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so we'll get to the NFL in just a second for the rest of the Week 9 slate, but some big breaking news. Ken Rosenthal from the Atlantic was the first to report this, but the Cubs have made a big splash. They've hired Craig Counsell. Yeah, there was this big buzz over the weekend about some of the various teams that have been fighting for his services. Of course, was led the Brewers who would have won a division once again in the NL Central. But there was some buzz about what's going to be the Brewers. There were some people going to say it's going to be the Mets. Well, it looks like it's going to be the Chicago Cubs. Yes, sir. He and of course Jesse Rogers of ESPN Chicago and all other outlets are reporting now as well that David Ross is out and Craig Counsell is in.
Yeah, so like we talked about during the break, I didn't expect this news to come, but we talked about this at the end of the year. Lakina, you could have made the case for David Ross being back as manager next year, but they would have struggled. He would have been fired, or you could have made a case for him being fired. And I think I was leaning toward that route because you basically had the second wild card spot in the National League locked up. But of course, you lost to Arizona not once but twice. You lost to Colorado in that series, and you wet the bed down here from late August through the month of September. You failed to show up consistently. And so kudos to the Chicago Cubs, Carter Hawkins and Jed Hoyer for being aggressive. They were aggressive last year with their free agent signings with Dansby Swanson and Nico Horner. We'll talk about them more next hour. But they were aggressive in free agency last year. They had to be more aggressive this year, in my opinion, especially with this managerial move this year with Craig Counsell. Are you going to give him the players that he needs because the NL Central we saw with the Milwaukee Brewers that lost to the eventual National League pennant winners, the Arizona Diamondbacks. I believe that we talk about so much about the White Sox and the AL Central. We'll get to them later on in the show. But the National League Central, I believe, is up for grabs too. Look at the way that Cincinnati improved this year. Pittsburgh is coming too. If their management can ever get their heads out there, you know what's and start making some moves. St. Louis had a bad year. Milwaukee now just lost their manager to their rival, the Chicago Cubs. So if you're the Cubs, if you do this right, this is a golden opportunity to take the National League Central and perhaps being in top contenders with the Dodgers, with the Braves, and with the Phillies. But before we get there, you gotta win the division. But you gotta get the players not just to win the division, but to compete with some of those other top teams that I mentioned in the National League as well.
This move makes me think that they're ready to win, and I think that Carter Hawkins.
You're rightfully so.
Yeah, and I feel like you don't hire a guy, a very accomplished manager. He's a former NL Manager of the Year. He's a guy that has played the game. He knows how. He's definitely a player's manager. So for me, this makes me think that they're ready to win now, and they're going to be aggressive. We'll talk about some of the players that could be eligible for the Cubs to come during free agency just next hour. But to me, you don't make this kind of move unless you're going to say, look, we're going to be aggressive. We're going to be going after guys. Various free agents. So this is big. I know that some of our Cubs friends, are going to have a lot to say about this. We'll try. Maybe we'll have someone hop on perhaps maybe later on this week on Friday. But the big breaking news: the Cubs have hired Craig Counsell.
All right, again, let's continue our NFL Power Hour as you're listening to Second City Sports or in Sports Zone Chicago, the Monday edition. Say LaKenna here with you as we review yesterday's contest from week number 9 in the National Football League. As you mentioned before the break, let's review the Frankfurt games in Germany as the Kansas City Chiefs hold off the Miami Dolphins 21-14. Tua Tagovailoa for the Dolphins, 193 yards passing and a touchdown. Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins, 12 carries, 85 yards in the score. Tyreek Hill, 8 catches for 62 yards. LaKenna, the Chiefs jumped out to an early 21-0 first half lead. The Dolphins came back but had a chance to tie the game late, but they poo-pooed down their pants once again. They're now 0-3 against teams with records above 500.
And that's going to be the point of contention, especially if they don't make the playoffs this year. The fact that they have not been the team over 500, I should say, they just couldn't really get it going on offense. I mean, Tua only threw 193 yards and a touchdown. Mostert did what he could to try to get keep the Dolphins in it, but the Chiefs, to their credit, they were able to kind of hold them off. And the defense, guys like Chris Jones and just what everybody on that defense just say, Trent McDuffie made a big tackle. They were able to kind of make the Willie Gay made a big tackle as well. I think they keep Mostert from getting that first down. So, and they actually were able to keep your guy Tyreek Hill at bay for the most part. So, look, give the Chiefs credit. This is what they needed after what happened last Sunday against Denver.
Yep. Let's move over down to the dirty South in Atlanta, where the Minnesota Vikings come from behind, beating the Atlanta Falcons by the score of 31-28. The Vikings starting quarterback gets injured. Josh Dobbs, who just entered the building 5 days prior, saves today for the Vikings. He ran the ball 7 times for 66 yards in the score. On the flip side for Atlanta, Taylor Heineke, 268 yards passing, a touchdown and an interception. And Jonnu Smith, the big tight end for Atlanta, 5 catches, 100 yards in an early touchdown. LaKenna, I did watch some of this game yesterday live. I did pick Atlanta. I picked Atlanta on Friday, but I didn't expect their defense to collapse like they did. But then too, I didn't expect Minnesota's starting quarterback to get hurt early in the game either. But we talked about what Joshua Dobbs brings to the Minnesota Vikings. You saw what he did with the Arizona Cardinals earlier this season, even though they didn't have any talent, but he was one of the few standouts. You, Christine, picked the Minnesota Vikings. I'm sure you guys didn't envision the script like this being played out like this yesterday, but congratulations to the Vikings. After starting out 1-4, there's all of a sudden have won 4-0. They're now 5-4 and right in the middle of the NFC wildcard race.
Yeah, I mean, look, and they lost guys too. I think Cam Akers got hurt. Jaron Hall got hurt. That's pretty brutal. Jaron Hall got a concussion, like in the second play of the second drive. So unfortunately, he able to leave, and and unfortunately, it was when Akers was playing QB, because remember he was the emergency QB. That's when he tore his Achilles. So Josh Dobbs, literally off the street, he was all set up at his house in Arizona. He got traded. Got there Minnesota Wednesday night. Didn't even learn all the guys' names, prior to that. And if you saw, great job at NFL officials to kind of have all the practices and stuff like that as he was, getting ready, gearing up, because he was going to have to go out there, for 2 huge TDs and, the game winner to Alexander Mattison. And it was just a thrilling game. I actually watched the end of this game. Of course, we got the end of the game here in Chicago. So, just a really great run of Minnesota. Don't look now, but Minnesota, despite all their injuries, are right there in the thick of it in the wild card race, like you said.
The Cleveland Browns shut up Joshua Dobbs' former team, the Arizona Cardinals, 27-0. Deshaun Watson, 219 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Mr. Ford for Cleveland, get the name of Mr. Computer, Jerome Ford for the Cleveland Browns, 20 carries for 44 yards. Amari Cooper had 5 catches for 139 yards and a touchdown off a deflection. Lakina, as we said on Friday, the Cardinals traded guys away, including their former quarterback Joshua Dobbs. Their defense, led by Myles Garrett, teed off yesterday on the Arizona Cardinals. Offense for the Browns did just enough to pick up a win. Now they're 5-3.
Yeah, they sacked Tune like 7 times. So, this makes you think that there's a reason why they're not letting the Kyler Murray play just yet, because they are tanking. So, but look, Watson came back from the injury, threw for 219 yards and 2 TDs, like you said. And look, the Browns, they did what they were supposed to do against a team that only has 1 win. So I'm not going to get too all over that, but it's actually what they really needed. So, congrats to them.
Yeah, let's head up north to Wisconsin and talk about the Green Bay Packers. They improved their record to 3-5, 2-2 at Lambeau Field after dominating the injury-riddled Los Angeles Rams 23. Jordan Love, 228 yards passing, a touchdown for Green Bay. Aaron Jones, 20 carries, 73 yards rushing, and a touchdown. And Luke Musgrave, their rookie tight end, 3 catches, 51 yards in his first career touchdown.
Yeah, look, go for him. I saw that touchdown. A great throw by Love to Musgrave. So that was a really great TD pass. Aaron Jones got me some points on my fantasy team. Yay, at 73 rushing yards in a TD. So, congrats to him. And look, Jordan Love didn't make any. He was sacked 4 times. I know that Aaron Donald got a couple of those sacks. So, but look, that's Aaron Donald. So he's going to give everybody diapers. So he shouldn't feel too bad. But look, not any major mistakes on Love's part. And look, they were able to pull it out. And they got the 3rd win of the season, the Packers.
Let's head over to Foxborough, Massachusetts, where the New England Patriots drop a close one at home to the Washington Commanders in this interconference matchup. Sam Howell for Washington, 325 yards passing, a touchdown and an interception. Ramondre Stevenson for New England, 9 carries, 87 yards and a touchdown. Terry McLaurin for the Commanders, 5 catches for 73 yards.
Yeah, I had this game also, too, on the computer here. And look, Washington, again, not the prettiest, but they did just enough to win that game. They had a Matt Jones through a late interception that kind of sealed that win for the Commanders, I should say. And look, they're 4-5, so they're kind of like just on the outside looking in the NFC wild card. But if they can kind of, I know they trade a lot of their guys, Montez Sweat, we talked about Chase Young, but they actually do have some guys that are kind of like right there. So, we'll see what Washington does. But, it's going to be interesting. Terry McClellan, got his yards in. And, look, Jahan Dotson, like you said, got that TD. So, look, the Washington Commanders are just going to win that game.
Let's head over to Baltimore, Maryland, where this was supposed to be the game of the day for CBS. It wasn't after halftime. The Baltimore Ravens to blow out the Seattle Seahawks 37-3. Lamar Jackson, 187 yards passing. For the running game for the Baltimore Ravens, Keaton Mitchell, 9 carries, 138 yards and a touchdown. And their stud tight end, Mark Andrews, 9 catches for 80 yards.
Yeah, 4 sacks. They sacked 4 times that defense. That Baltimore defense is actually one of the best defenses in the league. I think they're tops, or at least in the top 5 in a lot of categories. So they're doing what they're supposed to. And look, it took a few weeks, but the Ravens seem to be kind of finding a groove, a new offense. Looks like Lamar Jackson's a little bit more comfortable. They're actually letting, Keenan Mitchell kind of spreading around with the running backs. I mean, we have to know that he was leading rusher and not Lamar Jackson. I know Sid Hasten when the quarterback's the leading rusher. So I know he's very happy about that. Gus Edwards got 2 rushing touchdowns, the 5th player in Raiders history with most rushing touchdowns in back-to-back games. Joining guys like Willis McGahee, Ray Rice, and Justin Forsett, and of course Lamar Jackson, who did it earlier this year. So, but yeah, I mean they're 7-2. Baltimore kind of quiet 7-2. No one's really paying attention, but I think if you're John Harbaugh, you're fine with that.
Yeah, and you had to be very aware that defense has played the last few weeks, so it makes it one of the top contenders in the AFC to represent the conference in the Super Bowl in the next few months. The game of the day took place in Houston, Texas, as the Houston Texans come from behind to defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 39-37. C.J. Stroud, only the 6th player in NFL history to pass for over 470 yards and 5 touchdown passes. Rashad White for Tampa Bay, 20 carries for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Mr. Noah Brown for Houston, 6 catches, 153 yards, and a touchdown. Lakina, I did have this game on live via this computer screen, and it was very entertaining. I picked Houston on Friday. I didn't think it would be the highest scoring game of the day, but it was very entertaining to watch. Baker Mayfield, once again, Lakina, did not turn the ball over. Rashad White actually had his best game of his career yesterday. But the Houston Texans, C.J. Stroud, we're starting to see him grow up in front of our eyes. I know their running game wasn't non-existent yesterday. I know that Damian Pierce is out. Devin Singletary stepped in for me at the starting running back position. But we're starting to see C.J. Stroud grow up in front of our eyes.
Yeah, we'll talk. You said all the records set, but I'm sure we'll talk about the studs and duds in a little bit about all the records he did also set, because he set a lot of records. I didn't have this as a high scoring affair, but apparently it was. I know Christina and I both had Tampa, but this was a very close game, and look, to Houston's credit, they were able to make just a place to win that game. So that was especially the fourth quarter. 31 points was scored between them in the fourth quarter, so that was just bananas.
All right, to the late games, we'll start off in Charlotte, North Carolina, as the Carolina Panthers drop another game at home to the Indianapolis Colts, 27-13. Bryce Young for Carolina, 173 yards passing, 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown. Chuba Hubbard for Carolina, 16 carries for 58 yards. Michael Pittman Jr. was the man for Indianapolis. He had 8 catches for 64 yards. The Colts scored 20 of their 27 points in the second quarter, including a pick 6.
A pick 6 for the Colts, and that was kind of over and done with there. Kenny Moore Jr. actually had 2 pick 6s. He's the first rookie to have, first time that someone from the Colts, as many great defenses the Colts have, he's the first guy to have 2 pick 6s. And he's actually from that area. I think he's from just outside Charlotte, and you saw his sisters who helped raise him. They were cheering him on, so that was a really cool moment. And look, I mean, Indy, I don't know, they probably won't make the playoffs, Indy, but they are going to give some teams fits. You saw what it did to Baltimore about a month ago. So they've been playing very well, and they got some talent on that squad. So another great win for the Colts.
Yep, let's go over to the West Coast now with the Las Vegas Raiders and new head coach Antonio Pierce. He pierced, no pun intended, his former team, the New York Football Giants, 36. Starting quarterback for the Giants, Daniel Jones, went out with an injury earlier. It turns out to be his Achilles has been torn. He'll be gone for the rest of the torn ACL. He's gone for the year. Aiden O'Donnell, the rookie quarterback for the Raiders out of Purdue, he had 209 yards passing. Josh Jacobs had his best game of the year, 26 carries, 98 yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. And Darius Slayton for the New York Football Giants, 4 catches for 59 yards.
If you saw I'm talking about Coach Pierce's opening presser, he said that, look, the Raiders got to have more energy. They got to have a little bit more pizzazz and a little more excitement. You saw that. You saw, Aiden O'Donnell didn't get sacked. That's something that you like to see. Josh Jacobs got the ball, almost 100 yards, 2 TDs. Jacoby Myers got that rushing TD and whatnot. And it was really, they kind of dominated from the word go. And to their credit, I think this is the largest point deficit, the largest point win at 24 for an interim coach following a midseason replacement. All the way back to when Dan Campbell took over for the Dolphins, led it to a 28-point win. So I don't know. Look, they're 4-5. The Raiders are. I don't know if they'll make a playoff push, but they're gonna, Coach is gonna make sure his guys play hard. So you saw that yesterday.
I don't know if you heard the story, Lakina. I was watching the whole broadcast via this computer screen, and I saw a clip of it on social media. But Laura Oldman, who did the sidelines for Fox yesterday, Chicago's very own, by the way, she told the story that when Antonio Pierce was coaching, I forgot the name of the high school in California, his team was up by 50 or 60 points at halftime. He didn't like the way his team was playing, so he had the whole team run laps outside the parking lot. They actually had to take a penalty because they came in late to start the second half, but he wants his players to play the game the right way. I have no doubt he's going to do that for this Las Vegas Raiders team. It's going to be a new attitude, fresh energy. Let's see if they can keep this up for the next few weeks. It's easy to do this when you have change because everybody's on their best behavior for various reasons. I want to see if the Raiders can sustain this in the next 2 or 3, 4 weeks.
That's really going to be the key here. And I think if he could if they can go like 3-2 in those next 4 or 5 weeks, he might get the job, or he might get a strong consideration for the job. I know he's been wanting this for a while now since he's got to get into coaching. He coached at high school. I think they won a state championship, or at least was close to winning one. I forgot the high school you're talking about. I think it's just outside where he's from. I think in Compton, maybe LA or South LA or something like that. We're in that area. So I mean, look, we'll see. This could be his dream job. It'll be interesting. But like I said, you can tell Devontae Adams has a little more of a weight's been lifted off his shoulders now. So he didn't have any TD passes, but I've never seen anybody so happy. He only had like 4 receptions for 34 yards, but you saw how happy he was afterwards. He only had 7 targets, but you know what? He probably didn't care. They won the game, so.
In America's game of the week. The Philadelphia Eagles hauled off the Dallas Cowboys 28-23. Dak Prescott 374 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. Tony Pollard for the Cowboys 12 carries, 51 yards. CeeDee Lamb stepped up big time, 11 catches for 191 yards. Lakina, the Eagles did not score a point in the fourth quarter. The Dallas Cowboys came back, but Dak Prescott stepped out of bounds for a potential 2-point conversion. Remember, I said this too on Friday, Lakina, Philadelphia, they don't look as strong as they did a year ago, but it looks like at least offensively they starting to come on. I said Hassan Reddick, their linebacker, will make a difference. He almost did, but in a negative way. He got called for pass interference during Dallas's last drive, and then the Cowboys always cowboy themselves with the false starts and just
sack.
Exactly, giving up 2 bad sacks and that was ball game. Let's be honest. Dallas did play well. As we told you, they would be competitive on our show last Friday. They'll be competitive, but they shot themselves in the foot. They should have won this game yesterday. I'm talking about Dallas.
I'll say this for my sons and does, but if you heard Greg Olsen during the game, during this last sequence, I think he spoke for a lot of NFL fans, particularly Cowboys fans. We'll get to that in a second. But like you said, I mean, Dak threw the ball short to Lamb. I guess he was trying to allow it. The problem was there was nobody, or there was no Cowboys around him, like 7 or 8 Eagles. So I think it was Slate who got a little bit banged up. I think he was able to make that tackle that kept him from going in the end zone. But that was a really weird game, especially that last sequence. You thought that maybe Philadelphia took control, but then they made some big mistakes too. There was it was just a crazy game from like start to finish. So it was. I think. But, look, they'll be playing again in about a month, so we're going to be seeing even more of this down in Dallas.
And wrapping up the action from the Queen City, Cincinnati, Ohio, for Sunday Night Football. The Cincinnati Bengals hauled off the Buffalo Bills 24-18. Joe Burrow for the Bengals, as we call him, shout out Christine Manico, Joe Money, had 348 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, 8 carries, 44 yards in the score. T. Higgins was the man of the hour for the Bengals. 8 catches for 110 yards. Lakina, I'll let you have it for the Buffalo Bills.
Are we going to have to? Well, look, your first Cincinnati, this is their 6th straight primetime win. Primetime win. It's the longest home primetime win streak since the 1970 merger. So I remember there was a time when they wouldn't even put Cincinnati in prime time. So go figure, just like about 20 years ago, almost, it was a little over 20 years ago. But
the Chad Johnson era.
Yeah, after that era, look, Joe Burrow, look, it looks like that calf is still looking better and better. Due for 2 TDs, no interceptions. Joe Mixon, had a big rush that ended that game just just outstepped Von Miller. I know Mom's going to have a lot of nightmares about that one. But look, Josh Allen had a bad interception, and it just couldn't make the plays. Like, I know they're banked up on defense. They had a lot of injuries on defense, but even still, are we going to have that conversation about Buffalo? I mean, I don't know. I think I saw. I forgot. I think it was it Thurman Thomas or Andre. One of those Bills players from those great '90s Buffalo Bills with the 4 straight Super Bowls said that, look, is it time to kind of maybe Sean McDermott should probably maybe get some consideration, maybe get the boot, I guess. There was some rumblings about that in Buffalo. I know that Bills Mafia is very upset right now. They fall to 5-4, and if the playoffs start today, they will not make the playoffs. So I don't know.
Yep, and now it's time for our studs and duds from Week 9. I will start. Joshua Dobbs, the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. What a heroic effort coming off the bench after not even being in uniform for a whole week for the Minnesota Vikings as they beat the Atlanta Falcons 31-28. My second star or stud, we say on this show, Amari Cooper, the wide receiver for Cleveland, 5 catches, 139 yards and a touchdown as the Browns shut out the Arizona Cardinals 27-0. And my third star will be C.J. Stroud, 470 yards and 5 touchdown passes. The sixth quarterback to ever do that in the National Football League as the Texans come from behind to defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 39-37.
And I think less than 5 receptions, I think. Yeah, I think I saw that stat too. So he draws a pretty good list. Jared Goff, Big Ben, Peyton Manning, Donovan McNabb, and all the way back to Wyatt Tittle. So that's a pretty impressive list he joins with that performance. Yeah. I'll say Baltimore. Like I said, they're quietly 7-2 now. Those are my other studs. They're getting it together on offense. They're getting their groove going there. Their defense has been looking really solid the last few weeks. So, but yeah, I mean, like all the AFC North teams will be in the playoffs. And the playoffs started today with Baltimore winning the division. So, that's going to be pretty interesting there. Let's see who else. My last stud, I'll say Vegas, just because of the fact that they seem to have a lot more energy now. That there's a new voice with Antonio Pierce. We'll see how they look the next few weeks. So, those are my studs.
All right, my 3 duds are as follows. The Miami Dolphins offense, especially in that last drive, good grief. Yeah. The Seattle Seahawks, just as a team, they looked like shit. Excuse my French. And my third dud would be the Dallas Cowboys, their offense on that final drive. You were right there after that Dak Prescott penalty for roughing the pass, and then you decide to go backwards. Unbelievable. Those are my 3 duds.
And there was no. If you heard Greg Olsen, we said that earlier that there was no urgency. Like there was no urgency to kind of get it going again. So that's probably why they didn't have no timeouts left. So he was saying if you heard go back to the game. He said, look, hurry up. So that was really So I don't know what happened there. Like I said, I'll say Seattle too, just because I thought I know they were traveling cross country playing a new game, but look, you could have put in more of an effort. Come on now. I know Baltimore's been playing lights out, but come on, really. I'll say, let's see here. I know it's tough because you do all the duds. You took all the duds, but I'll say Tampa for not making those big plays. I know that not being able to stop C.J. Stroud, I guess. I'll say that.
All right, and tonight's Monday Night Football contest will take place in East Rutherford, New Jersey at MetLife Stadium as the 4-3 New York Jets without Aaron Rodgers will host the 3-4 Los Angeles Chargers. And you can see that game at 7:15 p.m. Central Standard Time on ABC, ESPN, and the Manicast on ESPN2.
And also, too, if the Jets win, they could perhaps maybe lead the division, the AFC East. So, big game tonight for both teams. So, we'll see what happens tonight. Now, hour number 1 in the books, hour number 2 straight ahead. This is Second City Sports on Sports Show Chicago. We'll have some NBA news, the in-season tournament. The Bulls not off to a good start, let me tell you. Of course, we'll recap the big baseball news. Craig Counsell is now the new Cubs manager. No one saw that coming. And other moves, too, as the Gold Gloves have been announced and guys moving in and out. So we'll talk more about that. And, of course, NCAAF football, Week 10, some interesting upsets. And so let's do still the Keenan McGee, City Brown, Sexy Sports on Sports in Chicago. We'll do the NBA Hardwood coming up right after this.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared.
that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Move it!
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
And welcome back to Second City Sports on Chicago, hour number 2. You can follow me, Keenan McGee, on the Twitter, X at Keenan Score again, the IG. I said unmutes. You fellas, there you go.
Yeah. You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X and the IG, SCKid80. Once again, that's SCKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. If you have any questions or comments for us as we enter in our last hour of the program, we have less than an hour left or so of this extravaganza. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago live and they live in color 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand on Roku TV.
Okay, so let's start with the NBA in-season tournament as the Bulls start 0-2. They just lose a tough one to the Nets on Friday, 109-107, and just get hammered by the reigning champ Denver Nuggets, 123-101. Going back to the first game, I guess the Nets, they had their chances to try to, get back into the game. And look, there was just, they struggled from three-point range, which, again, that's been a point of contention for the Bulls. They did shot just under 40%, but it wasn't enough as the Nets are just enough to win that game. Dorian Finney-Smith had 21 points, and Mikal Bridges had 20 points there as well. So on the flip side for the Bulls, if I can get this to here, okay, there we go. Torrey Craig only had 3 points, but I guess he gave him a little bit of a spark just where they weren't able to do it. DeMar had 24, leading the way there. Zach also had 24. Zach actually had a chance to hit a last-second shot late that just was way off the mark. So, Sid, what did you think about this first game of group play?
I thought that we'll talk about this around the league at this moment as far as the fan energy was concerned regarding these games. But as far as the Bulls, what I saw last Friday in that play-in game, we said this for the last couple of years, especially last year when it really got worse. The Bulls let their opponents walk into the lane like it's a downtown office building. No one's challenging at the rim.
Nope.
The Nets were getting layup after layup after layup. And on the flip side, as you mentioned with the offense, they had a team stat of 21 assists, but outside of DeMar DeRozan, who had 24 points in last Friday's loss, no one else consistently could get it going. You really did get much from your bench outside of Patrick Williams with 10 points and 5 rebounds. But if you paid attention closer to the NBC Sports Chicago broadcast and Stacey King, he pointed it out. The Bulls, so I told you with the victory last Monday at Indianapolis, they had a couple bad possessions that could have let that game slip away, but they were lucky enough to win that game. But it caught up with them last Friday against Brooklyn, not getting key rebounds. Zach LaVine missing the free throw. And I thought he could have had a better shot if he took a little bit more time. I understand the game clock was running down, but still, the Bulls cramping down their pants once again in late game situations for a team that's trying to get back to the playoffs. You cannot – games like this will come back to bite you at the end of the year regarding tiebreakers and things along that line. But the Bulls just need to strap it down defensively with letting folks in the lane like that. And number two, just execute down the stretch and no mistakes. I know it's too much to ask for some people, but these are the things you need to do to become a consistently winning team.
It's the smallest things. And well, I don't want to talk about the Nuggets game because the Nuggets have done it to a lot of teams this year, just, hammering it out. Jokic had 28 points and I think like 12 rebounds. So for me, I was like, man, you know what? I wasn't really expecting to win. I didn't even bother watching that game. So although I did like Denver's court though. It looked really cool. I saw it in their game against Dallas the night before. It was really cool. It had the mountains in the middle of at midcourt, and it had like the subtle blue and stuff. It was actually really very cool. And the Bulls, their in-season court, that was a lot of red. I can't even watch an Oregon basketball game. Even their court's like different colors. That was a very red. See red, yeah. You saw a lot of red all right with that court. Good grief.
Yeah, I told you last week that I did like the Bulls court for the play-in game, and I thought that was very cool. Like you said, you saw a lot of red, and it looks like a lot. There's a mixture of reaction view or on Bulls Twitter. I know you're on Bulls Twitter way more than I am, but I like the court. I told you I like Portland's court, Rip City. I know they were very competitive in their game. We'll get to it in a minute, but it's all about getting those TV ratings, and of course, this is a ploy to getting renewing with those national TV contract, which expires after the next season. So, I wanted to get your thoughts. As we'll jump ahead just a little bit and just review some of the key games on Friday. I did watch the ESPN game, the first game with Milwaukee and the Knicks. I was trying to see if there was any more intensity that's going to go on with these games because yes. Wins and losses in determined games every Tuesday except for tomorrow. But every Tuesday, every Friday from the month of November, it will count towards the regular season standings. So it's another regular season game. But I don't know about you, Lakina, but I didn't sense the energy in that game too much. It was at least with the Milwaukee Knicks game. I didn't sense that energy from the players or at least from that game, but checking out some of the highlights from some of the other games, you saw the intensity, you saw the energy in some of the other games like Washington and Miami and Cleveland, Indiana. Of course, with the Portland game against the Grizzlies, you saw the energy pick up with the players, and some of the fans were starting in some of those arenas started to get into it too. Now the fans in Chicago, obviously, they're always into it because it's the Bulls.
Of course.
But some of the games in some of the other arenas last Friday night, it was very interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I think some have said that they think of it as kind of like a NCAA tournament kind of thing, especially with just like really like bright courts with bright like colors and stuff like that. I did like Porter's court, though. That was really cool. OKC's home court, that looked really nice as well with the little like muted like blues and stuff. A little bit of kind of like the old logo from when they first got to OKC. So yeah, I mean, I know that. I think if you ask Dame, who he had a good show, he had 30 points, but yeah, you can kind of tell they were just like like, dragging along and such. So yeah, that kind of that was sort of like one of the reasons why you didn't really see too much intensity there. But look, I said the crowd got into it. The Portland crowd, look, they love everything. So they who's wise, so they're always into it. Miami, well, for what it's worth, they were very into it in that Friday's game. Going into Saturday, so that was like some people might look at this and say, oh, this is a total waste of time, but others might say, you know what, hey, let's it's kind of like a college atmosphere. So let's kind of get into it.
Like I said, tomorrow they'll have the day off. The action for the NCAA tournament will pick up again on this coming Friday. Of course, we'll have the schedule for you on Friday in our next show. So the NCAA tournament was some mixed reviews, but we still have a long way to go. Now, going to Saturday's actually, we're not going to mention that Bulls lost to Denver, even though the Bulls were in the first half. Like I said, Javon Carter had the best stats for the Chicago Bulls. I told you he's starting to pick it up for Chicago, and we'll see what happens with that going forward. But the Philadelphia 76ers defeated the Phoenix Suns 112-100 as Phoenix continues their East Coast road trip. I know they defeated the Detroit Pistons yesterday. The Hornets starting to pick it up a little bit. They defeated the Pacers 125-124. I watched some of this game on this computer screen last Saturday night. The Orlando Magic split their season series against the Los Angeles Lakers, defeating the Lake Show 120-101. Anthony Davis had a monster game, but he was in foul trouble. And the Los Angeles Lakers gave up 19 offensive rebounds. You're not going to win very many games in the league doing that.
Yeah, they were the Magic were very dominant inside in the paint, to get those offensive boards. So, LeBron, 24 points. Although he'll probably first say that wasn't his best showing, but after him and AD, I know Austin Reeves also had 20, but they didn't really have too much controversy after that. Cam Reddish only scored 2 points. That's not going to do it for you. Christian Wood only scored 6. Not a lot of contributions from the guys off the bench. So yeah, that's not going to work. But the Lakers go to 3-3. The Magic have had a really nice start, so we'll see if they can keep it up. Panchero's been playing very well for them so far this year. His second year in the league. I know Franz Wagner's been looking really good as well. 26 points in that game. So we'll see if Orlando kind of finally make some inroads.
All right, your other wins from last Saturday night was Atlanta, New Orleans. The Celtics over the Brooklyn Nets. The Rockets come from behind to defeat the Sacramento Kings. They were out there starting point guard De'Aaron Fox. And the Timberwolves bounced back nicely with a big blowout win over the Utah Jazz, 123-95.
Yeah, just hammered it. Minnesota just hammering, 31 points from Anthony Edwards. And like I said, we'll see if, Minnesota can make the next step. I mean, they made the play-in last year. It'll be interesting to see if they can kind of take that next step. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they look. And Houston upset Sacramento 107-89. Dylan Brooks actually been on his best behavior so far. 26 points leading the way for Houston.
I guess that's what happens when you get fresh cash in the first start.
Yeah, that probably helps a lot as well. Going into yesterday's games, Phoenix, you said you already mentioned Phoenix over Detroit. They needed that game desperately. Season high, 41 points for KD. They really needed that. So nice win for Phoenix. Toronto slowed down Victor Wembanyama. And the Spurs 123-116 in overtime. Scotty Barnes had 30 points, which is a season high for him. And Keldon Johnson had 26 points, leading the way for the Spurs in a losing effort. Golden State, tough showing, but a tough loss to Cleveland. I think Cleveland really needed this game more than they did. Donovan Mitchell had 31 points. Steph Curry, 28 points. But that's kind of breaks his 30 streak because he had 30 points. After 30 points, those first 6 games, didn't get that one yesterday. But, the fact that Steph has been able to do this, what he does at his age, still hitting up threes, scoring 30-plus points, I mean, just amazing the size he had. He's only 30. He's going to be 37, I think, in January. So the fact that he's still shooting at a high level, it's nothing short of amazing.
Yeah, Steph Curry is going to go down one of the, if not the best shooting point guard of all time. I know he's about 6'2", 6'3", but he's taking advantage of the rules that we have in the NBA today with all offense. He's hitting 3-point shots at a consistent rate at a fast pace than anybody. So, and don't forget, when he first came into the league, yes, he could shoot it from the outside, but remember, he still is a very great passer, and he can penetrate through, to the lane as well. I know he doesn't do it as much anymore. Remember, earlier in his career, he had those ankle problems, which slowed him down for a moment. But like you say, he made up for it by improving on his shooting. He still has great court vision, and that's not to be taken lightly.
and can shoot the threes from half court, full court, from up in the stands, up in the upper deck seat. So yeah, he can shoot from anywhere. So he's got 4 championships now, and to prove it. So that's such a really cool. Dallas beat Charlotte 124-118, I should say. Luka had 23 points, leading the way there, despite LaMelo having a game, a season high, I should say, 30 points for him, a losing effort for the Hornets. And also to Memphis. Pulled away from Portland, 112-100. Desmond Bain had 30 points. Memphis, to their credit, they've been trying to kind of keep things going while Ja's been out. That's their first win of the season.
Yeah, so we talk about Memphis with their acquisitions this past offseason with the trade for Marcus Smart from the Boston Celtics. Of course, Derrick Rose, Chicago's very own. They acquired him in part because John Morant's going to miss the first 25 games of the year. Of course, we talked about it during our preview show, and we're going to talk about all season. The Memphis Grizzlies needed this win because Steven Adams, their big guy, is out for the year. They missed him in the playoffs last year against the Lakers. They're going to miss him for the entire year, so they got to overcompensate that and to at least keep pace in the Western Conference, because the Western Conference is stacked and it's going to be very competitive all year. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's their big man for the Grizzlies. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt, because they're going to need him and somebody else to step up and to help him play defense in the interior rebound. Yeah,
so that's going to be very soon. We'll see if they can at least try to stay afloat while, until Ja comes back. We'll see how Ja looks. I know Steven Adams is out too for the season, so that might be a bigger issue for them than Ja coming back. So we're seeing that so far, especially with them being out rebounding most of their losses so far. So we'll see what happens with that now, as we'll get into anything else that caught your attention this weekend before we go into this week's games.
No, let's end it with this week's games.
All right, cool. So let's tonight, match. These games are tonight. Golden State continues their East Coast trip, facing Detroit, San Antonio, and Indiana. Dallas and Orlando, that should be a fun one. Washington and Philadelphia, Milwaukee and Brooklyn, that should be an intriguing one. And the NBA TV game, you got the Lakers and the Heat at 6:30. I might be watching that one in between watching that Monday night game between the Chargers and the Jets.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler versus LeBron James. It's always a great matchup, and tonight's game should be no different.
Absolutely. And the Clippers face the Knicks. They can do their road trip as well.
Yes, and also, too, James Harden will make his debut as a Los Angeles Clipper.
Finally. Utah and Chicago. Well, yeah, look. I mean, he says he wanted to wait for the first East Coast road trip, so they'll look, him and Julius Randle. That should be an interesting one tonight. Utah and the Bulls. Utah's been kind of the same situation the Bulls are in, so we'll see how they look. Sacramento and Houston. Boston and Minnesota. Atlanta, OKC. This should be a fun matchup between between those two up and coming teams, and the Pelicans and the Nuggets. That should be an intriguing one.
Yes, and peace and love to CJ McCollum.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, look it up on social media. He's going to be out for a while, with a special health condition, and we wish him nothing but the best.
And don't forget, tomorrow there are no NBA games because it'll be election day in some parts of the country. Make sure you guys go out and vote if you haven't already. Of course, they can do this initiative. So I think some of those NBA arenas will serve as super voting sites. So
yes.
Check out, I know here in Chicago, we don't have to worry about it because we're good until next year. But we'll just to kind of for us, the rest of the country, make sure you guys vote.
Okay, here's the schedule for Wednesday. Of course, the Chicago Bulls will host the Phoenix Suns, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, hopefully, and Devin Booker and crew at the UC. That's at 7 o'clock. The rest of the schedule for Wednesday night looks like this. Washington is at Charlotte. Utah's at Indiana. The Celtics and 76ers will get it on from the East Coast. I know. The Clippers and the Nets. The Spurs and the Knicks, that's the first game of that ESPN Wednesday night doubleheader. So Victor Wembanyama will make his Madison Square Garden debut, of course, with the San Antonio Spurs in town. Of course, the Lakers and the Rockets, Miami at Memphis, Detroit at Milwaukee, the Pelicans at the Timberwolves. That's New Orleans at Minnesota for those of you scoring at home. Cleveland at OKC, Toronto at Dallas, Golden State at Denver. That's the second half of that Wednesday night ESPN doubleheader. And the Portland Trail Blazers will visit the Sacramento Kings.
That Golden State Denver game is going to be rocking. Steph against Jokic. That should be a fun one there. That'll be interesting. In that very jam-packed Western Conference. Now on Thursday, we're going to be both NBA TV games. The first game of the NBA TV doubleheader, we got Milwaukee and Indiana, and Atlanta and Orlando. Those are 2 games on NBA TV, and that's your schedule for this week in the NBA.
And note the Atlanta-Orlando game on Thursday night at 8:30 Chicago time on NBA TV. That game will take place in Mexico City.
Yep, that should be a fun one there. I'll be interested to see how the folks there respond to the NBA. That's going to be very interesting. Not a bad game to kind of show it. So this should be interesting.
All right, you're listening to Sports Zone Chicago's Second City Sports, the Monday edition. We're live in 11 colors. Sid Lakina hanging out here with you. Lakina, let's get into some baseball here. We might have to continue this on the flip side of this break, but as we mentioned at the top of our last segment, the Chicago Cubs baseball club Northside Club will hire Craig Counsell as their new field manager, lure him away from the Milwaukee Brewers. David Ross will be out. Lakina, I saw the deal. If you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it was 5 years for $40 million. I think it's the highest paid manager in baseball, if that's the case. And I was trying to listen to some comments during our last commercial break from MLB Network. I have it on my monitor right now. Is Steve Phillips, who former New York Mets GM in the late 90s, early 2000s. I think he does great work for MLB Network Radio on Sirius Satellite Radio. He said, and I quote, "If you're a Milwaukee Brewers fan, Craig Counsell going to Chicago and paying them the way they did, this should be a slap to the face if you're a Brewers fan." Do you agree?
Yeah, I think he's right. I mean, this is probably one of the point of contention was that they didn't want to pay him. And of course, the Mets were sniffing around. There were some other teams that sniffing around. There was some buzz about a couple of hours ago, as I was kind of looking to see various baseball insiders were reporting that there was a mystery team in the wings that might swoop in and get Craig Counsell. It turns out it was the Cubs, and I don't think anybody saw that coming. And when you saw the news, like we said earlier, Ken Rosenthal was the first to break the news. Everyone thought, okay, is this the real Ken Rosenthal? Is this his real account? And this and that. But it turned out it really was. Of course, other folks, John Heyman, Jesse Rogers, the others followed suit. And so this is a huge, big signing for the Cubs, and I think. This strikes me as, look, here's the weird part. Tom Ricketts, of course, the Cubs owner and chairman, just said about a month ago that David Ross was the guy and blah, blah, blah. The confidence, yada, yada. But look, if you have Craig Counsell waiting for you, I mean, you would say, heck yeah, we'll open up the checkbook. And this makes me think that they're going to, try to get, Cody Bellinger. We'll talk about him after the break probably, and some other guys as well. Maybe not Shohei, you may want to not get him, but, we'll see. I'm sure they'll make a play for him. So, yeah, this is definitely something that a lot of people did not see coming. And, yeah, I mean, like I said, this makes me think that, look, you'll bring a Craig Counsell and pay him all that money, and you're not going to be the same old. So you're going to get some upgrades.
Yeah, as I mentioned before in our last break, you didn't bring on Craig Counsell to be mediocre. That's what this team was this year. I ran down what happened to him toward the end of the season. You opened up that checkbook around this time last year to bring in Craig Counsell. You brought in Craig Counsell this year, but you brought in Dansby Swanson,
Cody Bellinger.
Cody Bellinger last year, and you resigned Ian Happ to the contract extension. So, and that team should have been a playoff team, but like I said, we'll leave that alone. But I guarantee you this, Craig Counsell, I'm sure, had deep conversations with the management, said, are you going to let me have strong input of what kind of players that I need for this team? Because we all know that one of the glaring needs for this team is a first baseman / center fielder if Cody Bellinger leaves. But the number one priority right now, my number one priority for this Cubs team, fix their bullpen. Albert Alzolay is your closer. Let him stay there. I think he's earned the right to stay there. He just got injured toward the end of last year. But you need bullpen help, especially with that middle relief and a setup person. and you need not one, perhaps two starting pitchers since Marcus Stroman opted out his contract over the weekend.
And I think that's actually been a good thing for the Cubs. I think they saved about 22 million or 24 million by him opting out. So that's extra money for them to spend in their pocket. And also, too, I think, like you said earlier, Sid, I mean, Cody Bellinger, of course, no, everyone expected for him to decline his option. So I'm sure he's going to test the market and see what he can get. And especially now he has another, we'll get to the Gold Gloves announcement after the break probably. But, for me, I think that this is definitely something that's going to be, Jed Hoyer learned from one of the best, Theo Epstein. I think he's seeing that, okay, who out there that we can get to kind of, get things going at first. For a lot of people that thought, oh, well, this guy's going to go to this here or this and there. I'm sure a lot of that's going to change now, especially with this Craig Counsell move.
Yeah, and also, too, like you said, Craig Counsell, with him being hired, bringing some of those bigger names to Chicago. You can sell the city, you can sell the north side, you can sell Wrigley Field, which is all great, but can you sell the fact that if you're big free agent A or B, can Craig Counsell and the rest of the Cubs management sell the idea of if we bring you here, you're going to take us to the next level, not just winning the NL Central, but being up there with those other teams in the National League, like the Phillies, like the Braves, like the Dodgers. We want you to be that guy to come and get us over the hurdle. You saw what happened to us this past year. We want you to be that difference maker for us in 2024 and going forward.
And I think, I'm seeing our buddy Jen Latta from, of course, ESPN Milwaukee, where she works most of the time. We're not doing game day. She said it's sort of kind of like what Dale Swain would have with Dale Swain when they got they got rid of both of them, and then they ended up bringing on, of course, Joe Madden. Of course, the rest was history after that. So this is kind of I know there's going to be a lot of Dave Ross, Rossi. Look, I love Rossi too, but I don't think he was going to be the guy that would take the Cubs to the promised land, especially after what happens and those questionable moves that he made, especially later in the season when a lot of those middle relief guys were hurt, and also to the starting pitching. So the good news is they did bring back Kyle Hendricks, so he's going to kind of be like your top guy. Justin Steele, we'll see how he looks next year. I think that, like I said, you're going to need one or two starters. You're going to need to rush up that relief and that bullpen. You're definitely going to maybe need another first base, especially if Cody Bellinger does decide to leave. So yeah, this definitely could be. So this could be a start of a lot of things. And look, that contract that Counsell got, that's going to be a big thing. So yeah, they're going for it next year, and it'll be free agents got very interested in MLB.
Yes, and you remember Lakina, our now new good friend of the program, Mr. John Zagul from Sports Talk Chicago, and he said that the reason why the Cubs kept David Ross around is because to keep the fan base, quote unquote, happy and have that connection with 2016. Now that 2016 connection is now gone. I know Kyle Hendricks, his option on his contract was picked up for next year, but the big star, one of the big unsung hero stars from that team is now gone. So this is the new day for the Chicago Cubs. If you're a Cubs fan, embrace it. You want your team to go to the next level, especially after what happened this year. We're nearly missing the playoffs. You had that second spot wrapped up, and you just couldn't finish it off. So if you're a Cubs fan, be happy. You want your front office to make smart moves, not only to take the NL Central, but perhaps become one of those top teams in the National League. It's not going to happen overnight, but expectations have been raised, and rightfully so.
All right, we'll take a really quick break. We're going to talk some more MLB as I'll ask Sid, Tim Anderson, his option was declined. Could it be come back? Was he surprised by that? Also, a couple of veterans players have that got their options declined. We'll talk some college football and maybe a little bit of old school team. Might have time for a minute and a whole lot more. Lakina McGee, Cindy Brown, Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. Or rapid fire hodgepodge coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too. These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver. And I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
And welcome back to Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. You can follow me, Keita McKee, on the Twitter, @KeitaScore, on the IG. Oh, brother.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. This is our last break of the show for today. So if you have any questions or comments for us during our last part of the show, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions and comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, so more baseball news. Now, this managerial news probably won't get as much attention as a Craig Counsell splash over to the Cubs, but Stephen Vogt has been named as the new manager for the Cleveland Guardians. Of course, Terry Francona announced his retirement halfway through the season. He's been the quality control coach. He was quality control coach for the Seattle Mariners this past season, and it was weird because I just saw him play like he just retired like last year. So
Yeah.
like, what the heck? What's up? What do you think about that news?
Well, let's see if Cleveland can keep most of their talent because, they suffered through many injuries this year, in particular their starting pitching rotation. So the AL Central is, quote-unquote, wide open. I know what the Minnesota Twins did before people started yelling at me. Yes, congrats, you won a playoff series for the first time in nearly 20 years before you got served up nicely by those Houston's trash trolls. But it looks like you're going with young managers with fresh new minds in Cleveland. They still have some good young talent with Jose Ramirez and Stephen Kwan. We'll get to him. He made some news over the weekend in just a moment, but you still have some young talent over there, and they could be competitive. The last year, they've saw just what the White Sox suffered in 2022, a bunch of injuries, and they couldn't overcome them. So Cleveland's still a competitive team. We'll see what they can do as far as improving their roster, i.e. their starting rotation into 2024.
Going to be very interesting to see what Cleveland does, especially with, like you say, they had to get rid of a lot of money. Lance Lynn is looking for a new job. He was one of the 4 positions for the Dodgers that got declined their option. So he's looking for a new place to play. So we'll see what happens there. Also, too, Yan Gomes, the Cubs picked up his option, so he'll be back next year as well. It's going to be very interesting to see what some of these names are going to be out there. Sean Mania, he opted out his contract with the Giants, so he's a free agent, the left-hander. A few other guys as well. Joey Votto, probably one of the, not really a big surprise, but look, Joey Votto's been with the Cincinnati Reds since, he got called up years ago. He posted a really nice video. Where do you see him going?
That is a very interesting question. Obviously, he's going to play. He's going to go to a team where he's going to be used part-time because knowing the resume that he has, he wants to win. And so I can see him going to a team like maybe the Yankees or the Braves. Or I'm not saying this is going to happen, but maybe the Cubs because they have some first base issues. Obviously, he won't be playing every day, but I can see him going to a team on the cusp of winning and using him as a part-time player. I'm sure he still thinks that he could play every day, but at his age, he doesn't anymore. So he's definitely going to go to a contending team. Maybe the Dodgers sniff around. I don't know. Maybe Arizona's a surprise team. I don't know. But for sure, he's going to go to a team that he's going to have his leadership as a veteran is going to lean well with some of the other guys, the younger guys around the team. A team probably going to come on like an Arizona. Maybe, I don't know about San Diego, but because I don't know if you heard news with them over the weekend, but they had to take out $50 million just to meet payroll this year.
Yeah.
So, but I can see Joey Votto going to a team that's on the cusp of winning the championship and making it to the playoffs, and his veteran voice would be very useful in that clubhouse.
Going to be very interesting where he goes. And like I said, I'm sure he'll have his pick of teams. Let's talk about that thing with San Diego for a second, because giving all that money, to Tatis and to Machado, and at least, they're not producing consistently, and now they had to take out $50 million just to pay their fees and whatnot. So I'm talking about the Padres, the team fees. So that whole thing is just like, good Lord, like, okay, yeah, now they're in a hole.
Yeah, don't forget they're one of the 2 teams that Bally Sports regional network cut ties with, along with the Arizona Diamondbacks. So their games were produced by MLB. So that's why the Padres had to take out a $50 million loan just to meet payroll for the end of the season. But I don't know if you read this over the last week or so, Lakina. I keep hearing Juan Soto's name on the QT, on the quiet tip, as the kids would say, that the Cubs could be in play for him. And if so, what do you think the Cubs can give up? I'm sure they're going to have to give up a couple of minor leaguers, but what else do they have to give up for Juan Soto? They're going to have to pay a hefty price to get him.
Yeah, they're gonna have to give up maybe give up some of their top guys on the farm system, and I don't know. Like I said, if they're gonna win now, I think that's what they may have to do, especially if the rumors are true that they are. Perhaps maybe getting Soto, but it's gonna get very interesting. I've been hearing that too the last couple weeks. His name, like he said, Soto could be going to the Cubs, but I've heard that maybe the Dodgers might try to go for him and whatnot. So it's gonna be a little bit interesting to see what happens with that. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing like where he goes. That's gonna be one name that's gonna be sought after during the winter meetings. The Mets have hired Carlos Mendoza, who was the Yankees bench coach last few years, as their new manager. Let's see here. Who else? Well, we want to talk about Mr. Tim Anderson, Sid.
Yeah, I know he was the face for the White Sox franchise and for African-American baseball players, especially in the city of Chicago. We talked about some of the stuff he's going through off the field. We won't rehash that, but me personally, I thought that the turnaround story would happen here in Chicago. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I understood from the business side of it why the White Sox did it, because you didn't think that he's going to be the guy going forward. And, there were some stories that came out last year between him and Yasmani Grandal. We won't go through that, but and you saw that many of his teammates didn't stick off him in that fight with Jose Ramirez last year from the Cleveland Guardians. So maybe it was time to move on. I wish his comeback story would happen here, but sometimes these moves are for the best. And I wish Tim Anderson nothing but the best. I'm still a fan of his. And going back to the White Sox, I said this to somebody last night. I hope that Colston Montgomery doesn't get rushed up here to start 2024 because he's really the only top prospect the White Sox currently have. And you saw what they did to Oscar Colas last year. They rushed him up here to be the starting right fielder on opening day, and by the end of April, they yanked him down to the minor leagues. I know he came back up to finish the year, but they really ruined that kid's confidence. I hope that doesn't happen. This doesn't happen to Colston Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of people buzzing about him last night. So, hey, yeah, look, Bill, this guy, I'm hoping they take their time and they kind of get it going. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where Anderson has to go. I mean, I think it wasn't the Dodgers that were trying to perhaps get him early in the season, and a few other teams as well. So, yeah, he'll have his pick of teams. I would love for him to have that turnaround here in Chicago, but maybe a new start is probably what he needed.
Yeah.
All right, so the MLB Gold Glove Awards were announced last night, in the middle of all the weird hoopla from football, kind of where they announced right during the thick of the afternoon games. But I digress. 3 Cubs got their shots at the got named Gold Gloves. Cody Bellinger, Ian Happ, and Dansby Swanson, all very deserving. So not having no issues with that. Now, on the rest of the NL side, also Nico Horner as well. I don't want to forget about Nico Horner. I feel bad I forgot about Nico Horner. 2 from the Cubs, Brian Hayes, third baseman from the Pirates, Christian Walker from the Diamondbacks on first base, Gabriel Moreno, I should say, as catcher, Brendan Doyle from Colorado, one of the young guys there from Colorado, Ha-Soo Kim, a utility guy from San Diego, Zach Wheeler, the pitcher, of course, for the Phillies, and Fernando Tatis Jr. for right field. So do you have any issues with this?
From the National League, no.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, I don't either. Like I said, I know that I actually like this is actually got it right here. So so I like that. On the AL side, you got Jonah Helm, Nathaniel Lowe from the World Series champion Rangers, Andres Jimenez from the Guardians, Matt Chapman. Not a big surprise there from the Blue Jays on the third base. Also third base, Kevin Kiermaier. I know you on the center field. I'm sure we'll have something to say about that. We talked about Stephen Kwan from the Guardians, left field. I think this is the second Gold Glove. Anthony Volpe from the Yankees, one of the few bright spots from the Yankees. Aldalis Garcia, also too from the new World Series champs Rangers. Mauricio Dubon from the Astros, and Jose Barrios for the Blue Jays. You have any issues with that? And also, too, I know there were some White Sox fans, thought that maybe Luis Robert Jr. might have had a shot in center field with, Kevin Kiermaier, which he got. So, do you have any issues with that?
Yes, I do. I know I'm speaking as a bitter fan right now, but Luis Robert, as we all predicted at the start of this past season, when he's healthy, he's one of the best all-around players in baseball. You saw what he did with the bat, but this is about his glove, and he had a great year with the glove in center field. Shout out to Kiermaier, who won the award, but I thought Luis Robert had more of an impact in the center field position defensively. He could track balls down that most center fielders cannot get, and we said this before, we'll say it again. Luis Robert is the best outfielder on this White Sox team. I know Andrew Benintendi brings that experience in left field, and he did some nice things over there. But let's not forget. I'm not saying it was glove worthy, but to consider what we had over there the last few years, it was better than what we've seen over the last few years. So Luis Robert, I thought, got robbed. As long as he stays healthy next year, I think he'll have his opportunities to get a Gold Glove.
I didn't think so. Okay, sorry about that, folks. Technical difficulties here, the Second City Sports. But I don't have any issues. I think the one reason why Kiermaier probably got it was because at least the Blue Jays, made the playoffs. The Sox didn't. They were nowhere near. They were already out of it by June. So that probably plays a factor for a lot of these. For a lot of this, but I think, look, he was probably, like I said, I'm sure, he's still young, so I'm sure he'll have, plenty of chances to get a Gold Glove. But I think, Kiermaier, I think his numbers and the fact that the Blue Jays were just better this year, I think that's probably played a factor as well. So, you never know in these cases, but we'll see.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a factor.
And you, me, and Christy will be doing our predictions for the baseball awards. I'll be come hand out next week. We'll do them on Friday, so we'll be interested to see what who wins for those various awards and stuff. So, any other baseball nuggets and news you want to talk about before we move on to college football?
Breaking news within the last half hour. So, Buck Showalter, who got the axe from the New York Mets, he's being interviewed by the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Could he be managing Mike Trout next year? And Shohei Ohtani, I still predict that he's gone from there. So we'll see what happens with Buck Showalter and the Angels.
That might be an intriguing spot for him, but like I say, he doesn't want to retire yet, so I commend him for that. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah, look, get a chance to manage Mike Trout, who is still pretty much at the peak of his career. So we'll see. But look, Joe Madden, you got Joe Madden, it didn't work out for them. So I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see with that. But it'll be also be TBD for some of these baseball moves. As Second City Sports on Sports Chicago, Kim McGee Brown with you as we go. Switch gears and you go to the gridiron on the college side. Some very interesting upsets here. You got Ohio State pulled away from Rutgers 35-16. Mizzou kept it close against Georgia for a little bit, but Georgia pulled away late 30-21. Michigan, no problem with Purdue 41-13. Florida State held off Pittsburgh 24-7. Washington beats USC 52-42, and it's sort of like a early basketball score, I guess, if you will. But Michael Penix Jr. Was the star here, 256 yards and 2 TDs. It was actually Dylan Johnson he was a big star there for Washington, 256 yards and 4 rushing touchdowns. Caleb Williams on the flip side, 312 yards and 3 TDs. If you saw him afterwards, you can tell he was sobbing with his parents and the rest of his family. That was you felt bad for him. Also, too, they finally fired their defensive coordinator Alex Grinich. But unfortunately, to me, that's a year too little too late, I say.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. You took the words right out of my mouth. And maybe one of the reasons why Caleb Williams is crying, too, because he sees the train going off the rails for USC. They could finish 7-5, maybe 8-4. But as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, the national championship host for this Trojans team is gone. And we know that Caleb Williams will probably be the consensus number 1 pick in next April's NFL draft.
Yes, so
him and his friend will be crying happy tears as he gets that money.
Right, and we'll see. And some people were wondering, like, is he gonna perhaps maybe sit out the rest of the season? Like, I don't see that happening. He's too big of a competitor. I know he's going to want to try to at least finish his college career on top, at the very least, winning a couple of games, winning their bowl games. So we'll see. But that's going to be another thing as well. So, but we'll see. But Washington, the most important thing for Washington, they stay undefeated undefeated overall with the rankings coming out. Oregon, no trouble with Cal, 63-19. Texas needed overtime, but they held off Kansas State 33-30. They were actually up 24-7. I don't know what the heck happened. I actually did not watch this game for them, but what the hell happened? I don't know, but they made the big plays late on defense, and to their credit, they were able to hold the Wildcats off.
Yeah, Will Howard was the man of the hour for the Kansas State Wildcats, 327 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, as he led the charge in the fourth quarter with 16 unanswered points. I know Texas scored a field goal to force the game into overtime. Of course, they kicked the field goal to win it. Texas is still in the mix for that fourth and final spot in the college football playoff. I think Michigan, Ohio State, and Georgia, those 3 spots are wrapped up, quote unquote, but it's all going to come down to that fourth spot. Texas, I believe, is the leader in that clubhouse right now. Don't forget about Florida State, as you mentioned. They're right there in Washington.
Yeah, so like I said, there's going to be a lot of changes happening during those rankings in the next few weeks. So, for anybody that's freaking out about the rankings now, don't be. But we'll see what happens there. Alabama beat LSU 42-18. Jalen Moreau threw for 219 yards. He also rushed for 155 yards and 4 TDs. On the rushing side, on the other side, Jaden Daniels, 163 yards and rushing TD, and he threw for 219 yards. Was that the game that was clearly a cheap shot? I mean, it was a call for targeting, so go figure with that one. But this is actually the first time in the last 25 years of this rivalry that both QBs had 200 plus yards passing, 150 plus yards rushing. So so Sid, did you get a chance to watch this game?
No, I didn't. I caught a couple of highlights, but as we said before, for the last couple of weeks, Jalen Morrell is starting to get confidence, playing within himself with Nick Saban's offense at the quarterback position. He's not the flashiest, he's not the greatest, but he's sticking to the game plan. And he's starting to become effective with the more confidence he's gaining every week. And it's also about the Alabama defense as well. And they shut down LSU, when they had to, just holding the Tigers' offense to 7 second half points.
But it was very close early on. So, that was a nice win for Alabama to keep them in there with the striking distance of that playoff spot. Now, Oklahoma State will have bright rights at least for the next few years. This is the last of the Bedlam series. They actually been meeting every year since 1904. It's going to be the last meeting for a while, at least for Oklahoma going to the SEC. But the Cowboys are the ones that have the bragging rights. 27-24 over Oklahoma. Alan Bowman had 334 yards, I should say. It was, like I said, it was Ollie Gordon, the second, had 137 rushing yards and 2 TDs. On the flip side, Dylan Gabriel, 344 yards and a touchdown, but he had an interception that was definitely kind of held him off there. A back and forth game between these two teams as usual, but it looks like OK State might have knocked Oklahoma out of the playoff chase.
Yep, you took the words right out of my mouth. Again, remember I told you on Friday this could be a trap game for Oklahoma. This could be a game if they lost it, that they'll be out of the national championship picture. Well, this was it. Omar Gorin, the second for the Cowboys, had 33 carries, 137 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also, too, Rashad Owens stepped up big with 10 catches and 136 yards.
Yeah, big showing there for Oklahoma State in that defense. So that was a really huge win for Mike Gundy. And again, they're quietly 7-2. Look, they're over here like they're in the driver's seat in the Big 12. So we'll see what happens the rest of the season. Ole Miss held off Texas A&M 38-35. Penn State no trouble with Maryland. Remember that big showdown against Michigan coming up this Saturday. We'll talk a little bit about that on Friday. Louisville beat Virginia Tech, and Clemson, as you can say, upset Notre Dame. The one time I picked Notre Dame, freak as always. 31-23, Clemson beat Notre Dame. Kubik threw only for 109 yards and a touchdown, but it was actually Phil Maffa who was a big showing there. They couldn't, for some reason, the Irish Rivers couldn't slow down. 186 yards and 2 TDs. And I remember Kevin Nagani said this during the ABC. He and Booger followed the ABC halftime report and after the postgame after that game. He did say that Dabo and his team actually played better than the underdog. So he reported his 166 career win as Clemson head coach, passing Frank Howard for the most in the program history. They committed 0 penalties in that win. The first time they've done that in a game, at least in at least 25 seasons. So very disciplined for the Tigers, and they put off one of the bare upsets, knocking Notre Dame out what they had left of the playoff race.
Yeah, Sam Hartman, the Irish quarterback, did not have a great game, only 146 yards passing and 2 interceptions. But I know they came out in the second half scoring 14 points, but their offense was nowhere to be found. Like you said, Clemson played enthusiastic football, disciplined football. And like you said, their backs were against the wall. They played like it, and they came out with the 8-point victory at home.
Yeah, so this could be kind of like the day that kind of gets these going here in the next chapter. We'll see this kind of like gets them going. So we'll see that this win, there's a way to definitely help a program out, and they needed that little jolt. So we'll see if this win does that. Oregon State held off Colorado 26-19. Now, I actually watched a little bit of this game. But they did, like I said, the Beavers did just have to win this game. They're still right there in the thick of it in the Pac-12.
Yeah, we all know that Deion Sanders' club has a lot of work to do this season, talking about recruiting players. I think Warren Sapp, Pro Football Hall of Famer, is going to join in staff and recruiting some new guys. So, as we said before, we didn't think that Colorado was going to win anything this year anyway in terms of a national championship, things along that line. But Deion still has some talent on that team. He's going to get better talent in next year. But hopefully he's telling his guys behind the scenes that looking at some of those teams that they played against on their schedule this year, we need these kind of athletes to compete with those top teams. So I have no doubt that Deion Sanders is going to go out and recruit better players for next year.
Definitely, we'll definitely have the going on for it, so we'll see there. Tennessee, no trouble with UConn. Utah, no trouble with Arizona State. Arizona upsets UCLA. Look, I said that the Arizona could give USC all they can handle, and it did just that. They basically kept UCLA kind of at bay here, especially their offense couldn't get things going, so they were able to do just enough. Kansas. They're right there. I think they and Oklahoma State are in the top two right now. They're right there up there with Texas. So they held off Iowa State 28-21. Tulane held off East Carolina. Army knocks Air Force out of the race, beating 23-3. Our buddy Randy Cross called that game for CBS Sports Network. Shout out to him. We got to get him back on soon. Arkansas, for the first time ever in Gainesville, they beat Florida 39-36 in overtime.
Yeah, it should make alumni. Dan Hampton and Jimmy Johnson, both Pro Football Hall of Fame members. So I'm very happy that their alumni is of the Arkansas Razorback School. And don't forget Jerry Jones on the Dallas Cowboys as well. Just saying.
Yeah. I'll say hard. When I saw it's hard to believe that. That's their first ever win in Gainesville. So they really needed this win desperately too. They only had 2 wins, prior to this. So nice win for the Razorbacks. IU upsets Wisconsin 20-14, and Michigan State upset Nebraska. Look, as I was saying, Nebraska had a shot to maybe win the Big Ten West. This will probably knock them off. So I don't know what happened with that. North Carolina took care of Campbell after a couple bad losses. Georgia Tech beat Virginia. Let's see here. Illinois beat Minnesota 27-26.
Yeah, Luke Altmaier, 212 yards passing. Only 1 turnover, but 3 big touchdown passes. And also, they had a running game to go with it. Caden Fegan, 22 carries for 89 yards.
John Patty came on and perhaps maybe led them down the field, and of course a game-winning touchdown for Illinois and Minnesota. Unfortunately, they were right. They had the driver. They were in the driver's seat in that Big Ten West division. Now it's all kind of like everything's kind of all haywire. Iowa beat Northwestern in a score that if you took the under in that game at Wrigley, it actually kind of looked like a Cubs game that they played against the Giants or something like that. But look, Iowa did just have to win that game. So, okay, 10-7 over Northwestern.
Yep, and a couple of the scores to pass along here. Houston beats Baylor 25-24. And I want to go back to that Nebraska and Michigan State game, Lakina. We talked about on Friday that Nebraska, they were turning things around. Like you said, I'm not going to say this was a gimme game with all the Michigan State is going through both on and off the field, but they laid a big fat egg. I don't know if they're going to recover from this, but we'll see what happens in their next game. NC State upset the University of Miami 26. Yeah, Tyler Van Dyke is going back to being bad again. 173 yards passing and 3 interceptions. Not good, young man. Not good.
Ew, yeah. You thought that maybe they were starting to kind of figure it out. I'm talking about Miami in that sense, but unfortunately that ended up not being the case. You're losing to an NC State, but So it looks like right now, if the AC championship were to start right now, it'll be Florida State and Louisville. So that was a bad chances by them, but. But we'll see what happens there now in the Big Ten West Division. Iowa's now in the driver's seat right now. Now, Minnesota did beat Iowa, but they need a lot to happen after that. They had a few weeks left, so we'll see if they can kind of figure things out. Nebraska, like I said, they had their shot to perhaps maybe get into that driver's seat. They weren't able to do it, so now everything's kind of upheaval for them.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I was going to say, so could have gotten that picture too, but they had that ugly loss. I forgot they were even at Wrigley against Iowa. We talked about Iowa and their lack of scoring, but they didn't need against the mediocre at best Northwestern team.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens there. Of course, Washington, Oregon are on a collision course if they can, finish up their season. Now, Washington has a pretty tough schedule these next few weeks. So this could be interesting with the theme here. To play Utah this week. So that'll be the 2:30 game on Fox. We'll talk more about that on Friday. They got Oregon State after that. They got the Apple Cup game against Washington State. So pretty tough schedule these next 3 weeks for Washington.
Yeah, let's see what Michael Penix Jr. can do to finish out the season strong. As I mentioned, they're one of 4 teams battling for that 4th and final spot in the college football playoff. Also, too, we talk about Penix Jr. being the top candidate for the Heisman Trophy. I think it's him, Bo Nix, and Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina, who had 4 touchdown passes over the weekend, by the way. And so it's a lot on the line for Mr. Penix Jr.
It's a lot for him to play for, a lot for them for Washington to play for as well as a whole. So it'll be, like I said, these next couple weeks are going to be very pivotal because you got a lot of big games coming up. Like I said, you got Penn State and Michigan hosting Michigan this week. We'll talk more about that as on Friday. But this could definitely be, I don't want to say this is Judgment Saturday, as they say, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, Statement Saturday, the next championship Saturday with these conference championships, which is usually held on the first Saturday in December. We're getting down to the home stretch, so it's time for the contending teams to step up, and we usually see a surprise or two. We'll see if that's the case this coming Saturday.
Should be very interesting as we listen to Second City Sports on Sports Channel Chicago. Kim McGee, Cindy Brown with you. We got college hoop season coming up, starting right now in some parts of the country. I know that on the women's side, got Notre Dame and South Carolina. They're playing in Paris right now. South Carolina is hammering Notre Dame by 30-some points, I think, as last I saw it. So, but Tennessee, Purdue, they're playing. They're playing tonight, and a few other teams. I think Texas plays tonight too. So yeah. So I know that some people, they may not get into college hoops, this early on, but I'm excited.
Yeah, yours truly doesn't really get into it until mid-December when they start playing on the non-conference portion of the schedule, and you really start to get just a touch. Not a full plate, but just a touch of what these top teams are going to be for this upcoming season. We talked about the parity in college football. You're seeing it in the college basketball, especially with the transfer portal, and you're going to see that being a factor once again this year. So Duke is going to be there. Hopefully Memphis, my guy Penny Hardaway, is going to be there. I think one of their top guys has a gun charge, so he may not play this year. I'm talking about one of his players. And so locally we'll see what Illinois is made of. Brad Underwood, I still believe, in my opinion, that seat is getting a little bit hot. It should be a whole lot hotter, especially after what that team did last year, underachieving. So we'll see what happens as college basketball gets underway soon.
Going to be very interesting. We'll see how the defending champion UConn, we'll see how they do. Miami, a lot of people expect them to do very well this year. North Carolina, we'll see. Shout out to Hubert Davis's uncle, Walter Davis, who passed away over the weekend, former veteran, 12-year veteran for the NBA. So, give us our thoughts and prayers to him and his family. But yeah, like I said, I want to see, the Paul, good Lord, look, shout out to Mark McGuire, who's been, they actually did something good. They actually hired Mark McGuire as their assistant to the athletic director. So that might help them a little bit. This is actually probably the smartest thing they've done in years. So this might actually help them in that sense, especially with recruiting, because they haven't been very well the last couple of years in recruiting. So we'll see there. But the college hoops is definitely going to be one of those things where, are we going to see the same parity we saw the last couple of years? Will it be status quo again? So it's going to get very interesting.
Yeah, so don't get to stars returning like Zach from the University of Purdue. Obviously, I'm sure they didn't like his stock in the NBA draft last year, even though he wasn't officially selected. So we'll see if Purdue can rattle off that success, repeat the success like they had last year. Let's see what the Northwestern Wildcats, Chris Collins, coming back into Chicago. You saw they had a very good year last year in the Big Ten, got into the NCAA tournament. They lost to, I believe, Gonzaga last year in the NCAA tournament. So let's see if they can repeat that success again, because the Big Ten is going to be very competitive this year.
Oh yeah, it's going to be loaded this year. You betcha. Of course, Michigan State, they'll be up there too. We know how Tom is. We know how his guys ready. Michigan, and Juwan Howard. I'm sure they're going to be very good this year as well. Indiana will Indiana make that next step? Yeah, and so that's like I said, Iowa might look pretty good this year. We'll see. You got up and coming, teams like Minnesota and Penn State. Those teams are probably might be a little bit up and coming. So yeah, there's a lot to figure out here in the college hoops up front. So I'm looking forward to it because it's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah, especially around these sports, especially the Bulls continue to heat out their pants and be underachieving. A lot of local sports fans are looking forward to some. We'll be looking forward to some winning basketball. Hopefully, Northwestern and/or Illinois can provide that.
Yeah, Illinois State, going a little directional-wise. Illinois State a couple of times, getting into the Missouri Valley tournament last year. So I'm looking forward to see what they can do. Can they get to that next step? So yeah, I'm looking forward to see this. It should be interesting. Like I said, it's gonna be a lot of fun as usual with college hoops.
Yes, it should be fun.
All right, anything else before we wrap things up?
No, I'm good.
All right, great show as always. You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter. X I can't again the ID. What's up, Brandon? We saw you earlier.
You can follow your Shirley Sidney Brown on the Twitter, X and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. And no, we did not forget. I think this is the first time we ever done this, Lakina. Old School TV Monday. We'll have this week off. We'll return next week. So we'll definitely gonna have a great show to salute and review for you guys. So Old School TV Monday will return next week.
Yeah, we have a lot of breaking baseball news, so
exactly.
Sorry about that, but
we got to do what we got to do, as we always do. So
yeah, like I said, we have not forgot. We got you guys covered. So yeah, that's cool. But of course, you can check City Sports every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports on Chicago Facebook and YouTube page. One more time. You catch Second City Sports every Monday, every Friday, noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports on Chicago on the Facebook and YouTube channels.
Yes, and don't forget you can download the Sports on Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please subscribe to Sports on Chicago, like Lakina said, on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance. Your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And don't forget, you can catch Second City Sports along with the other great programming on Sports on Chicago, because Sports on Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And we will always provide.
All right, we're gonna be doing. I don't know if they're gonna be the last scoring as they have in the NHL recently. He scored over 100 goals, and like that night, like my goodness, like they did on Friday night. My goodness, but still, what? Look, we got you covered here. Catch college football. We got some of those games. College hoops, like I said, that's starting. So you get a whole lot of sports. I love this time of year. So yeah, you get a lot of sports here as we get near the end of the calendar year. So. It's going to be an exciting time for us sports fans. So enjoy all that stuff for us, Sid. I'm the Kansas Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago, and we'll see you Friday.
Doubles, I guess. Holla!
Oh, boy.